What's the message to the guys after a moment like that?
Pretty embarrassed by it. I thought it was selfish play, selfish penalties. It ain't about you. It's about the team. And we ain't even close to being there. We don't know how to not lose games. Not about winning games, not losing games. We have more penalty yards than our freaking offense. So I told those guys, someone's going home tomorrow. Some heads are rolling. I ain't putting up with that stuff no more. We got one of our guards at 280 pounds. I don't know what he did all offseason.
Damn! Can they take the lead on this drive?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and a bit of a different video coming at you today as a bit of the aftermath of last week's game, Saskatchewan versus Toronto. Saskatchewan beating Toronto in dramatic, and I mean dramatic fashion, with a whole bunch of stuff going on, and Ryan Dinwiddie kind of loses his mind a little bit in the press conference, as the Argos now are 0-3 to start the season after winning the Grey Cup. The panic has started. The alarms are going off. Rick, what do you think of the Toronto, of kind of almost, I guess, the meltdown of Ryan Dinwiddie and kind of just the really underwhelming start for the Toronto Argonauts so far as a whole?
First off, people, I'm held at my will with this. You never see me wear Argo merch. I was held at gunpoint. I'm safe. I'm kidding. But yeah, no, I was actually, when I was rewatching the game, I remember Donovan, the special teams coach, getting pissed off at himself because they didn't have the 12th person on the field.
Yeah. 11. Yeah. So that punt, kickoff return touchdown, 11 guys on the field. You kick it to one of the best kickoff returners. You're not able to keep him in. And then you find out afterwards that you were one man short after working all this way to tie the game. And so, as you saw, he's like, Dinwiddie's like, some heads are going to roll here. Like, this is like, he's kind of like, maybe they got to start chopping off some heads if they want to kind of show them that they're serious. He said that someone's going home. He said heads are rolling, that they're not putting up with this stuff anymore. Even threw a jab at one of their offensive linemen. I think one of their guards. I don't know if he's referring to a backup or a starter or who exactly the one he is. Talking about how he's 280 pounds, so he doesn't know what he's been doing all summer, which is a little bit pretty actually light for an offensive lineman. Usually they're 300 plus, so I guess maybe he thought he wasn't hitting the gym and, gaining some muscle and whatnot. But yeah, no, not a good look here. Argos are at 0-3 to start the season. They play Ottawa next week. Ottawa getting their first win of the week. However, in a pretty ugly fashion, like that, this was not a clean win by Ottawa that they got. And they got it in a game where the weather conditions were pretty abysmal. Assuming the weather is clear and fine and just, normal, do you see like players getting like all sorts of problems if they lose next week and drop to 0-4 against Ottawa? Because right now Chad Kelly has not come back yet. He will at some point. I mean, we were talking in our review, like what is Toronto going to do if they're 0-5 by the time Chad Kelly comes in? Because Chad Kelly's not going to win every single game he's with them. He might be able to win them some games and help them improve. But an 0-5 hole, especially if either like, because then that means that Ottawa's guaranteed at least one more win if they go to 0-5. And if Hamilton gets their crap together, like, is there good cause for concern here for Toronto?
So basically it goes Ottawa, Hamilton, Montreal, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Edmonton, BC, Hamilton. So even after they play Ottawa and Hamilton, they have Montreal and Winnipeg back-to-back.
Yeah.
So the first week of August, that's week 9.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like...
Well, and there's been a lot of controversy with this Argos team this year, in the sense of with them cutting Kadeem Carey and kind of rolling with some other guys. There's that. Then obviously in the most recent game, there was like Toronto's been dealing with a lot of injuries. Kenneth George Jr. gets injured by an illegal block by Duncan Busby for Saskatchewan. So there's that. There's a lot of questions on if Nick Arbuckle is playing the way that they want him to play and if Tucker Horn should be given a chance. And so there's criticism going everywhere. There's coach going criticism at the line, going criticism at some of the players. And there's fans throwing criticism at some of the players, at Nick Arbuckle, at the coaching staff. Like, to me, this just looks like a mess. And so if you're Toronto or if you're a fan of the Argos, you got to hope that they're able to get their crap figured out here. As they're like, I'm looking here at multiple 3 Down Nation coverage of this, both by 3 Down Nation staff released just yesterday, as well as JC Abbott on 3 Down Nation releasing it yesterday, kind of talking about it, talking about how they were chirping all game and how they're just taking all these penalties. Like, we were talking in our review of these games, like how many did they take in penalties? They again, like, I think it was and then as you maybe saw
like in
the
total
clip below, they may have gotten more penalties, like yards through penalties than they did offense.
In total, there's between both teams, there's 29 penalties, 178 yards for Saskatchewan, 129 yards.
Like 129 yards, like, that's not good.
Size of longer than a football field.
Longer than a football field in penalties. And like, if I'm looking,
you have 3 football fields just in penalties.
That's longer than any one receiver or all of their running backs in this game.
So
for Toronto,
I will say I get the offsides. I counted between both teams, I think 8 to 9 15-yard penalties. So if you start at, like, say you're 25, then you get a 15-yard penalty. You're now already at the 40-yard line.
Yeah. Well, so here's my question.
And then it's like 2 big passes and you're in the end zone.
So here's my question, just to kind of wrap up the video here, is if you're Toronto, what do you do? How do you fix this? How do you stop the bleeding? What is something you can do right now going into the next game? Is it more of an emphasis on film in a certain aspect? Is it just is it conditioning all your guys and really kind of I guess punishing them for kind of the performance and the lack of discipline? What do you do so that way when you go into Ottawa on Sunday, June 29th, you grab your first win of the season?
I mean, at this point, it's mostly getting your guys healed.
Yeah.
Because they have so many injuries.
Yeah.
That I can count on 2 hands. And they're not just backup players. These are key players.
So here's my question. How many games do they, assuming they lose consecutively for however many games, at what record does it come to the point of we're worried if this team makes the playoffs? Is it 0-5? Is it 0-6? Is it 0-4?
So Chad Kelly's been with the team 2-3 years? They're 6-9 without Chad Kelly. They're 20-4 with Chad Kelly. So to answer your question, it all depends on what Ottawa and Hamilton do. If one of those 2 teams struggle, Toronto still has a shot.
If
both those teams.
Well, I'm not saying this team doesn't have a shot. This team absolutely has a shot. There's no question.
No. I'm just saying if those 2 teams win, say
But when does the
4
possibility of missing? I'm not saying like the guaranteed, but the possibility of missing the playoffs become real. Is it 0-4, 0-5, or 0-6?
Well, you can't even say 0-5 because, I mean, Winnipeg was 0-5, 0-6 last year, and they still made the playoffs.
That's true, but here's the thing. But the threat of missing the playoffs was real.
I would say,
Even though it's possible, I'm saying the threat. When do you feel the heat?
hypothetically,
If you're not feeling it yet.
within the next 5 games over the next 6 weeks, if Toronto cannot pick up 3 wins out of their next 5,
that's when you're then feeling the heat.
They're already 0-3. That would mean that you would be 3-5 in your next 5 games. If you can't even pick up 3 out of the next 5,
that's when you're feeling the heat.
I'd say by week 9.
Fair enough. So
they would have to beat Ottawa and Hamilton.
Yep.
And either beat Montreal or take one of the 2 games from Winnipeg.
So we'll have to see how that goes. Make sure you guys check out, though, our reviews as well as previews of each week of the CFL season. Just earlier today, released our review of Week 3. Went on for at least a good, I think, 40, 50 minutes on that. That was pretty good. We talk a little bit about the Argos game against Saskatchewan in that, so if you guys want some more Argos content, check that out. You can even just see we have the background of whoever the winner of each of the games are, so if you just want to skim through to wherever that is, you guys can do that. We appreciate any of you guys tuning into this video. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And is there anything else you got there, Rick? Or
no.
Shall we wrap it up here? Well, we'll see you guys next time. Peace, love, and positivity. We'll see you guys next time.